almost unrecognizable from the one you ascribe to. You'll also find that the one you ascribe to is a recent heresy. It's about 150 years old, but it is a heresy.
Wait, hold on, Ken. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to cut you off. I love what you have to say. But I do want to keep it on topic a little bit. We are talking about Exodus, and we're talking about the version we have today. And I'd like to give Right of Center a chance to respond, please.
And there's nothing to respond to. I'm still waiting for him to answer a simple question.
Wait. RCD, mute your mic. Mute your mic, RCD. Go. Thank you.
Really, we talk about, ask a simple question as to what we're going to do with the resources and the bodies that get washed up in the river. You know, when this flood happens, supposedly, and the best that he could do is say, well, we didn't get any bodies out of the Arizona. They're still inside the Arizona. Really and truly, Ken, to be honest with you, a chariot is something completely different than the Arizona. They're not locked in anything. The chariots, the bodies, all these things would have washed up on shore. And you know this to be the case. And then you ran on and on and on about nothing that has to do with the question that's asked. But that's fine. You go. I realize what you're doing. You're avoiding the question. But I'll try this one more time.
No, I answered you.
What is it that the people... I didn't interrupt you. I mean, you had like a 45-minute tire break going. You didn't answer. You said that they would go to... You said something about the Arizona and how the bodies would be locked in the Arizona. And you somehow compared this to the chariots. And you talk about me having a weak man argument. Please.
Well,
what would happen with these bodies in the chariots and the armor and swords? Would they take them? Would they bury their loved ones? Would they take the armor and the swords that would obviously wash up on the shore? And would they recycle them?
Go ahead,
would they
Ken.
take them and cast them back into the river and hope that they would be buried once again, to be found 3,500 years later?
Okay, wait a minute. Ken, before you go, Tuck put his hand up. Go ahead, Tuck.
Okay, we've already discussed this. Swords are metal, armor is metal. They would not float up, they would fucking sink.
Yeah, that's pretty no-brainer. Thanks, Tuck.
And it wasn't a flood.
Yeah, go ahead, Ken, please, and just try to be a little brief, just so we can refute them. We can own them real quick.
Well, Tuck did it. I mean, basically, the metal parts sink. The bodies that probably floated up. Other bodies don't float up. They would be trapped under metal or no, I don't know what. So there would be debris. There would be debris at the bottom of the Red Sea to confirm that the army of the Egyptians tried to follow Moses across the Red Sea. There is no such debris. You beg the question when you say, it happened, and they floated to the surface, and they buried the soldiers with their armor, and all that sort of stuff. That's absurd. That's patently absurd. You're trying to beg the question. You're saying that, well, the reason there's no debris in the bottom of the Red Sea is they cleaned it up perfectly. And then I gave you examples of the Red Sea does have a lot of sunken ships of modern times that they haven't cleaned up. How much less likely that a Stone Age, Bronze Age society has dredges and barges and all that sort of stuff to reclaim people that were dead. So, I deny the fact that it existed, and I rely on the fact that there is no debris on the bottom of the Red Sea that would show that that existed. You say they cleaned it up. That's absurd. Ab initio. They did not clean it up. Of course, if someone's loved one floated up, it would probably be buried. But this was an army chasing a fleeing bunch of slaves, as you say. It was not a camp out with camp followers and families and stuff like that. It was a race across the desert, relatively unprepared, I would guess. So the bottom line is, some people got buried if it happened, but a lot of people just died. Some people in an army do not have loved ones. I know that it's a shock to you. But, again, you tried to say that I skipped a question. On every question I addressed, I will take it simply. Metal, iron, brass does not float. Armor does not float.
Wait, Ken, one argument he made with me is he said, oh, we never looked. Can you address that, please?
Well, let me finish real quick before Ken addresses that. Now, while armor doesn't float, it does move. We see great hulls of ships that get washed all across the seafloor. So armor does move, and it does in a river. It would certainly get washed up. That's not a problem. But even so,
It wasn't a river.
out of curiosity, how much sediment, regardless, a flowing body of water, how much sediment would cover over these metal artifacts after 3,500 years or so? So how much would we expect to find in the area where we can't excavate, we don't excavate?
The question is incomprehensible.
Yeah, Tuck, can you hold on one
Of course
second?
it's
I want
incomprehensible,
Ken,
because we don't do it.
I want Ken to
You're right,
respond
it
real
is
quick.
incomprehensible.
So, Ken, can you
Go
address
ahead, Saint.
thank you. Ken, can you address the argument that he says we've never looked, and then address his, well, he left. But anyway, yeah, can you address the argument that we never looked, and then can you address, his question, we'll just say, to be polite. Can you address those two, please?
One, we dredged the Suez Canal. We got into the Red Sea. It's a very well-traveled sea. It has to be maintained. Two, there have been archaeologists, because that's a hotbed of activity, that have dredged, sounded, metal detected, wood detected, radar detected for the last, well, I can't say 1,000 years, because before a certain amount of time, there were scavengers that would probably take these things. But these artifacts don't exist. They aren't there. They have looked. They have looked thoroughly. Biblical inerrantists have gone out and looked for the wood from Noah's Ark. They've also looked and tried to find pieces of chariots. They have come up dry. The one neat thing about the biblical inerrantists is when they come up dry, they do not publish. They want to confirm their conclusion. They do not want to actually do a study. Now, there's some other question that you had in there. I'm sorry. You don't have to have a cough. There was some other question that you had in there that was incomprehensible. But we've looked for the artifacts. There are no artifacts. What other thing that you had? I don't remember what it is. You called it a flood, silt, something like that. Well, when I was a lad, I lived on the edge of a canal. And about once a year, the Army Corps of Engineers would go through with the dredger to make sure that the silt didn't fill the path. And they would pump all of the water of the silt into the ship. And they would filter out the water and put it back because water's heavy. And so they would pick up speedboats and outboard motors and bodies and all sorts of shit like that. That technology has been around for a long time. You're saying two things that are contrary to each other.